Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're doing a trash to treasure. I feel like it's been a while since we've done a trash to treasure, so I'm excited to show you the projects that I put together. Today's video, I'm collabing with another YouTuber. You guys probably have seen her channel. Her name's Emily, and her YouTube name is Mama from Scratch. And if you like the videos that I put out, I know you're gonna love her videos. She does DIY, Dollar Tree DIYs, trash to treasures. She does a lot of like home decorating like I do. So I'm gonna put the link to Emily's trash to treasure video down in the description box, so you can click on that video after you watch this one and go check out Emily's channel. The first project that we're going to be doing is a makeover on this ladder. I picked this ladder up last summer at a flea market. I think I bought it for around $5, and it was sitting outside for my spring porch. I had a bunch of different plants on it. I'll link that video down below if you're interested in watching my spring porch video. But I decided for this season, I wanted to update it just a little bit. I took out my painter's tape and I'm just going to be taping off the steps because I'm going to be applying paint to the outer sections of the ladder. I'm putting painter's tape on the steps. Then I'm also going to put it on that inner portion of the legs because I'm just going to be putting paint on the outside. Next, I'm going to be using the color Fern by Waverly, and I'm just going to lightly brush it on the outside of the ladder in a thin coat. And this is one of the techniques I use whenever I'm wanting to distress. Instead of putting all the paint on and then pulling it off, just doing light, thin coats will give you that same appearance. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the legs. I'm avoiding all the metal pieces, and I'm also trying to be careful not to add in any weird looking brush strokes. So if you have brush strokes, just go back over it so that it's all nice and blended. Next, I'm just going to remove the tape. And then with your ladder, after it dries, you can put it out in a corner. You can put it by a table. There's so many different options. And I think these are so fun to decorate. So to decorate mine, I'm gonna start with putting this really cool clay pot that I had gotten from a thrift store. And then I'm also going to be adding in some candle stands. In my pot, I'll put in some greenery that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. Next, on the middle shelf, I'm going to put some books that I had pulled the cover off of. They're just paperback books. And then I'll put a white dish on top of there. And I'll fill in with a little bit of greenery. On the bottom shelf, I'm going to be putting in a container of greenery and the third candle stand that I had in that set. And here's a look at how the ladder turned out. Next up, we're going to be making some pictures from dollar cabinet doors. I love picking these up at Restore. They sell them for $1. Sometimes they're 50 cents, you never know. So I'm actually going to flip my cabinet doors to the back side and do that first. Now with the holes, I'm just gonna come in with some wood filler and cover up those holes. Once the wood filler dries, I'll just come back in and sand it down. Now on my door, there's an inner portion, and then there's also what I consider the frame. This is going to give me that frame appearance that I'm going for. So on the inner portion, I'm gonna do 2 coats of Waverly white chalk paint. On the outside, I'm gonna do 1 coat of ink by Waverly, just being careful to not get on that inner white portion. If you do make a mistake, you can always go back in and add some white. Next, I'm going to add in a stencil. This stencil is from Stencil Revolution, and I'll link it down in the description box if you're interested. But I thought it was a really cool pattern. And so I'm just going to place my stencil down in the middle of my door, and I'm gonna put it down with some painter's tape. I decided for this stencil, I only want the middle 2 rows. So I'm just going to hold the stencil down and use my foam brush to fill in the stencil. I'm just adding in 1 coat of the fern color. Once I do that, I'm gonna remove the stencil. From here, there's portions along the edge where I need to finish up the details. So I'm just gonna use a small detail brush and finish it at the top and the bottom. You can also use this detail brush if you happen to get a little bit of paint where you weren't supposed to and go back in. You could also come back in with white and add that if you have any mistakes. So I'm gonna do this for 2 frames. To add a little bit of interest to the edge of my frames, I'm just going to distress a little bit. So I'm gonna be using my electric sander along the edges. Once I get it sanded down, I'll just wipe off any of the excess sanding. These signs are so inexpensive to put together, but I think they look so cute sitting out in a grouping. So the next thing I'm gonna make over is this small bench that I had on hand. So I'm just gonna start out by painting it white. I'm gonna be doing 2 coats of white by Waverly. Once my 2 coats has a chance to dry, I'm gonna be doing a technique on the legs of this piece. So I'm going to flip it on one side. So I'm gonna measure one of the legs so that I have a center point in the middle of my legs. From there, I'm going to measure down 2 inches, and at every 2-inch mark, I'm going to just make just a little mark. For this, I'm going to be using a Dollar Tree sponge and ink by Waverly. So what you want to do is just take your sponge and dab it into the paint. From there, dab off that excess paint because you don't want any excess. Then with your sponge, you're going to place it 2 inches down where you made the first mark, and you're going to angle it up on the right side and just press your sponge in place. Now, if you don't get the desired paint you want, you can always put it back down and get more paint. Then add a little bit more paint and do the left side. So you're gonna connect it with your right side, angling it up and trying to make it look as similar as possible. From there, you're gonna go 2 inches down and repeat those same steps, trying to get your angles about the same as the one above it. And I'm gonna repeat that all the way down the legs of my bench. Once you get done with one side, you could always go to the other side. There's so many different creative ways that you can use your sponge and do different patterns. This was just the way that I decided for the legs on this one. I also took this piece outside and added in a little bit of sanding with my electric sander, wiped it off, and I think it looks great sitting out next to a table. You could put a plant on it, so many different options. All right, you guys, if you are new here and if you came over from Emily's video, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I post 2 DIYs each week. And if you guys haven't checked out Emily's video, I will link it down in the description box so you can watch that video next. And I'll talk to you guys in our next one. Bye.